Okay, round 3 at TJ Collectibles. This is the May Modern Challenge, but you probably already know that since you're watching this on YouTube. Here we go. Snook on the left, first Ben Reilly on the right. Snook more known for behind the camera at these tournaments. He usually flames out early. He actually told me that he hasn't won round 1 at one of these until today. Ben Reilly on the right has top 8'd 1, has top 16'd a few more. He's still playing the same deck. He's still playing Cheerios, which I think he's the only person in this area doing it. He likes it. His win rate shows it. But he hasn't won yet. The farthest he's gotten is top 8. Inquisition takes the Pure Steel Paladin, and that is the problem with these decks, right? You discard the spell, you discard the SRAM or the Pure Steel, you kill the SRAM or the Pure Steel, you do something to disrupt one of their 8 creatures that do something, and they're playing just a bunch of Paradise Mantles, which is embarrassing. You cut that card from your limited decks, so. But, you know, you get Serum Visions. You got Serum Visions. You got Sleight of Hand. That's about it. You got Serum Visions. That's, like, how you do it. There's an argument to be made to play something like Muddle the Mixture to find it, but that's really slow. It'd be really cool if this deck could somehow finagle a Wargate. That'd be pretty cool. But, again, that's, like, it's a ton of mana. This deck operates on 2 or 3 mana. Snook, playing black-green aggro. Looks like Death Shadow, right? But no. He is just playing Grim Flayers and Lilianas and Dark Confidants. Things like that. Here we finally get a look at the hand. It's terrible. I don't know how this Cheerios deck wins at all. It makes no sense to me. But Ben keeps playing it, you know. He's always on this Cheerios train. Oh, here we go. 1 to the top. That's a SRAM. Snook draws. He needs a threat. I mean, as good as Disruption is, Ben plays 8 copies of his creatures. Can't discard all of them. Eventually the top of the deck will find Ben. Snook with the OG Tomb. Into Lily. Up. Good thing we have all these terrible equipment to discard and terrible retracts that do nothing. Visions. Ben needs land. Finds one. I just don't get it. Bottom. He must have drawn a land off that Serum Visions. Like how this Cheerios deck ever beats a Thoughtseize? Or a Fatal Push? I don't really understand. But Ben's 2-0, and he top 8'd the last one. So that's like 7-1-1, something like that. Pretty good. If you're a TJ Collectibles fanatic, you would have watched one of the previous months round where Ben played against Nick Furno playing Tron, and Nick got to trick bind a 22 Storm Count Grape Shot. That was pretty sick. Ben drew his entire deck and Grape Shotted, expecting, okay, this Tron player's dead. There's nothing he can do. Trick bind. Snook, no stranger to the feature match area of Magic. He has GP top 8s. He's GP top 16s. He's played on the Pro Tour. Top 8'd other tournament series events. So he's used to losing, as it looks like he might lose right now. SRAM into equipment. This deck is so embarrassing. He went off. He went off. He did what his deck is supposed to do. He played one of his cards, and Nothing happened. He turned these 0-mana artifacts into cantrips. Great. I just don't get it. I'll never get it. Ooze eats a SRAM. Ben gets taken down real low within one attack phase, I think. They haven't updated the life totals because they both know it doesn't really matter. Let's see what Ben can do. Neither player really giving much away here. Pretty stone-faced. I appreciate that. Oh, here we go. He's going off again. He's going to get to draw 2 more cards. Equipment, draw, equipment, draw. What a deck. And, you know, I wouldn't be ragging on Ben here if I didn't know he could take it. I've talked to him about this deck before. He agrees that it flames out a lot, you know. This is not uncommon, but he's still playing it. Yeah, there it is. Turns out that discard spells and efficient creatures are pretty good against a combo deck. Some real luminaries in the building today. Nico Christensen, Grand Prix winner. Grand Prix Quebec City himself. He's playing Blue-White Control. Grand Prix finalist, David Shields, in the room too. He did not manage to find a win today. He's out of the tournament. But he showed up, so we appreciate that. Supporting the local Magic scene, trying to keep the flame of Magic cards alive. He's actually acting as my assistant now that he's at the tournament. Checking pairings and getting me coffee. Pointing out when I haven't updated round 2 to round 3. So thank you, Dave. You have a promising future as a personal assistant. I would certainly pay you minimum wage to get my coffee. What's nice about these tournaments is you get to see the same faces over and over and over. Since the PTQs went away, since they changed the PTQ system to a 2-tier, right, the PPTQ and the RPTQ, the pretend PTQ and the real PTQ, you just don't get to see the stalwarts of the scene, right? I have no reason to ever see Adam Snook because we live an hour away from each other, which isn't that far. It really isn't. I used to see him every weekend when we go to tournaments. I would see him. I'd ask him what he's playing. We'd sometimes battle. We'd have a rivalry. We'd trade wins back and forth. I would usually beat him in round 1. That happened more than once. But with the PTQ system now, it just doesn't happen. So that's part of the reason why Tom created the Titanium series. Another part is that these mid-range events, these 75, 100-person events, we're just not firing, not being ran. It's either all or nothing, small or big. But here, we have the TJ's tournaments, and we see the same players month after month, right? Snook's been at almost everyone. Nico's been at almost everyone. I look out in the room, I see previous winners. Sam Richardson is here. He won February. Tim Tonelli is here. He won March. I don't think Ed Hinton's in the room, January winner. I think he took a month off. Like he can, because, well, he won. He already qualified for the finals. And, you get to stay in touch with these players. You get to see them every month, make friends in your local area, find testing partners, find people to carpool to tournaments with. Starts to knit the local community together more so than just at the local game store. Game 2. Another discard spell. Our apologies for the glare. We'll fix that after this round. I see at least a pure steel. Yeah, that's discarded, leaving Ben with a handful of cocktail napkins. Oh, look at that. Another pure steel. Hand is turned on, and I guess this is why you play the deck. Turn 2 creature, handful of equipment. Here we go. Boom. Draw. Draw. Yep. And we're done here. No retract to be seen, but that's a pretty beefy Pure Steel Paladin. Hopefully my assistant Dave will calculate the exact power and toughness of that Paladin. Bueller. Get pushed. Get discarded. Nice deck, bro. Sick. Now, if this deck could run like 6 lands somehow, like 8 lands, yeah, maybe I could get on board with it. If its creatures like cost 1, maybe. If it could play cards that doubled as equipment and mana sources, somehow, not really doable. But if there's some kind of equipment that was like 0 mana, living weapon, let it like sack for a mana, something like that, then yeah, this deck could be great, right? Because it could enable that turn 1. But without turn 1 potential, I mean, I just don't see the reason to play this super fragile combo deck. There are other combo decks in Modern that don't rely on having a 2-mana creature in play. But we're kind of at a point here where if he draws another creature, he might just win on the spot. Like if he draws a SRAM, he plays SRAM, he retracts, he draws at least 6 cards, and then at least probably 4 cards, and then 2 cards, and maybe he's found another retract. Maybe he's found a Grape Shot to deal 1 to Confidant and like 8 to Snook. Something like that. That could be okay. Ooh, retract. Here we go. Just as we drew it up. Nico Christensen in the house, in the booth. Say hi, Nico.
Hi, Zach.
He doesn't sound very excited. Wow, he's handing me cards that I lent him. That can't be good. Nico says, want to go to lunch.
He's got the wrong winner for game 1 on that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, personal assistant Dave. I appreciate that.
You want to leave that here?
You deserve a raise, Dave.
We're leaving our deck soon.
Okay. So here we go. SRAM on board. Drew a bunch of cards. I missed the action, but I assume he drews more 0 mana do-nothings. Paradise Mantle. There they are. Walking by. On the left. Dave and Nico. Let's see if Nico finds another removal spell. Yes, he does. It's a good thing about playing a deck like black-green, right? You have access to the best discard, the best removal, and you don't really have to sweat it. So here's the Thoughtseize. Sees. Paradoxical Outcome, Grape Shot, Pure Steel, Echoing, Serum, SRAM. A pretty stocked hand. Even Liliana making him sacrifice SRAM, he has redundancy. He has 2 combo pieces here. So really, Snook cannot fight Ben on the creatures. Because Ben is still going to have a creature. He can either go for the Grape Shot, which I don't like because he plays Noxious Revival, or what I would have taken as well, the Paradoxical Outcome, which lets him return 6 permanents and draw 6 cards, which is pretty sick. Ben has lots of time, though. Snook presents no credible clock. He has a Confidant only. And here, Ben has options. Two mana. Pure Steel. Ooh, nice. Draw a card. Echoing Truth represents at least 2 more card draws. You see Ben 3 more card draws. You see him separating out his various equipment. Remember, Echoing Truth bounces all permanents with the same name, so Paradise Mantle. It looks like he's going to go for it. He doesn't want to risk Snook drawing 2 more cards. Draw. Draw. Looks like he's thinking about holding the last mantle for next turn. He realizes that it's very unlikely he wins this turn. Mox Opal. SRAM. Nice. Draw 2 now. Unlikely that he fizzles from this point. Draw 2. And you know what? It looks like Ben's going to make me eat my words here, because he is a huge favorite to force this to a Game 3. Now, this is going to be the end of his turn, but he has a full grip. He has 2 giant creatures that block. Liliana cannot make him sacrifice this turn. He has a Grape Shot in his hand for next turn to take out the Lily and the Confidant if he wants. So unless Snook hits something like 2 removal spells, it's not going to be that great. Both players at 13. They haven't quite updated the life totals yet, but that is the score, 13 up. Inquisition. Nothing really stands out here what to take. I mean, yeah, there's Grape Shot, but like we've discussed, Noxious Revival makes it so that the Grape Shot is retrievable. And Snook cannot bank on Ben having sided that out. That would be really silly to side out the Noxious Revivals versus a deck with discard. The Pure Steel doesn't really do much to take. I might have gone for that Serum Visions, but Snook chooses the Grape Shot. If he had a Scavenging Ooze, that'd be pretty sick. But I doubt Ooze is in the deck still. So, Ben gets to have his way with Snook. He really wants to draw a 2-mana equipment here. Or rather, a 0-mana equipment. So, Serum Visions. Now, Ben's deck getting really thin. I wonder if he has enough spells. I do believe that one of the cards is May, and one is not. SRAM and Pure Steel. So SRAM is not May. You have to draw with SRAM. Pure Steel is May. So for now, he's going to keep drawing 3, but at some point, he's going to have to stop drawing to get to that lethal storm count. Now, Adam only at 13, so he needs a storm count of 12. Drawing some more cards. He can pretty safely go off here. A very low chance of fizzling. He probably has enough cards in hand to draw his whole deck. And Ben looking to prove me wrong. Take this to a game 3 versus the black-green discard removal spell deck. I'm very impressed with this game. There's the retract. Now, Ben only drawing 1 card each time. Not updating the storm count, but he will be able to go off here. I believe the storm count's at something like 12 right now? 10? Not really sure, but it's going to be enough. Snook just needs to make sure that the Noxious Survival was not sided out. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Would have been sick if Snook just slammed a Surgical Extraction down right there. There's the Grape Shot. No Trick Bind this time. Snook falls. And what I got to imagine is a pretty favorable matchup for him. Meaning this Cheerios deck has more play than it seems. So these players are going to revisit their sideboard to see if there are any goodies still left in the bag. If I was Snook, I would absolutely keep in all my oozes. For game 2, I would have been like, oh, I don't need this. This is slow. It doesn't do anything. It's a sorcery speed spell. But now that he sees that Ben only has 1 Grape Shot, well, if you remove the Grape Shot, Ben's going to have to beat down with 2 2s or 2 12s or whatever. And that doesn't seem very likely. So if I was Adam, I would side in any number of Surgicals I had, any number of Scavenging Oozes I had on my board. Of course, keeping the discard, obviously. Of course, keeping the creature removal. But, maybe taking out some of these cards that don't do a lot. Like, Confidant's a good card, but, is it better than Scavenging Ooze? If you can catch the Grape Shot? I don't really know. It's a toss-up. It depends what part of the deck Ben draws. Another match, going to game 3 here. Deep in the round, 23 minutes left. 23 minutes left in the round. It's nice to see long, exciting games of Magic in Modern. It's always a toss-up. Some rounds we feature burn versus burn. And it's over pretty soon. But right now, Modern's in a great place. A lot of decks have play. A lot of decks have sideboard options. And aside from a few policemen of the format, not that many decks are trying to kill on turn 2, 3, 4. Trying to sculpt the long game. And yeah, Cheerios is trying to kill on turn 2, 3. But any disruption, and it has to push that plan back. I mean, that was turn, 7 for Ben Reilly. He fought through a bunch of discard. He fought through a bunch of removal. Discarding his combo piece, his win condition, and he still won. It's not like Legacy, right, where you have a deck like Charbelcher that once it goes off, it's done, right? It can't do anything else. It's spent, exhausted, depleted. These combo decks in this format have some play, as Snook just found out. He keeps 6. Ben keeps 7. Discard ya, bro. Let's see what you got. He has an equipment, another equipment, an Echoing Truth, a Noxious Revival, and not sure what that 5th card is. A SRAM. Thank you, Ben. You must have read my mind. The obvious discard choice, the SRAM. Planes go. Overgrown Tomb, Goyf. Now, Ben has the option of revivaling the SRAM back to the top, which he does. Start the engine. Go off a little bit. And now I'm going to have to get Ben Reilly in the booth here, talk about his deck a little bit, because I have so many questions. Like, how is this... How does it work? How is this good? I mean, I guess he's drawn 7 cards this turn. That's pretty good. He says go. He stocked his hand up. He still has a SRAM. He says, okay, Adam, you must kill this, or else I threaten the win next turn. And statistically, he's probably a favorite to have drawn another creature. But Collective Brutality from Adam, trying to put a stop to this plan. This actually lets Adam get ahead on mana. Because he gets to both kill the creature and take a retract, or paradoxical outcome, or the grape shot, whatever. Discarding the Scavenging Ooze. The useless Scavenging Ooze. So he sees a hand of land, Echoing Truth, Serum Visions, and that might be an Expedition, Flooded Strand, something like that. Takes the Visions. And crashes in. Tarmogoyf should be creature, sorcery, instant. So it's a 3-power creature. Ben at 15. He still has time. Yeah, that was a land. Okay. Goyf crashes in. Ben goes to 11 to grab a Hallowed Fountain, giving himself blue mana for the Echoing Truth that we know he has. Future retracts that he will draw. Future Serum Visions. Paradoxical Outcomes. Which is a pretty sick Magic card and would be a good draw here. Would let him draw 6 cards, return all his equipment at the end of turn. Exactly what he wants to do. Thank you, Ben. Again, you read my mind. Benjamin ponders his options and says go. Snook threatens a 2-turn clock here. If he taps out to activate his Treetop Village, he has Ben dead to rights the next turn. But that's a scary thing to do, right? Because Ben has Paradoxical Outcome in his deck. Adam knows this. I don't know if Adam knows exactly Ben's list, right? Because to the best of my knowledge, Ben has something like 2 outcomes. But Snook might think it's 4. And think that the risk is too great that he has to keep up Fatal Push. That's what he does. He keeps up his mana. He respects the combo from Ben Reilly. Land added to the graveyard, so Tarmogoyf is a 4-power creature. And here's the Thoughtseize. I would have loved to have seen this pre-combat from Adam, if he had another land, to know if the coast is clear for the village, but he may not have had an untapped land. That might be the crux of it. Looks like Ben has only Echoing Truth in his hand for spells. Really unfortunate. He's going to have to use it either to return 2 of his equipment or to return the Tarmogoyf. None of these options are great. He chooses the Paradise Mantle. Ah, and Grape Shot. Snook takes Grape Shot with authority. Ben down to 6. He must find something this turn because Adam has 7 damage on board with that Treetop Village. Pure Steel Paladin would be a sick draw right here, letting him both draw more cards off the top of his deck and equip those 0/3 equipments for free, creating a good blocker. No, land. Ben smiles. He offers Snook the hand. Unfortunate flood there. He drew 7 cards on that one turn. Drew no more copies of the creature. Drew no more Noxious Revivals. Drew no Paradoxical Outcome. Kind of bricked out. I don't know the odds on that. But, you know, it's bound to happen sometimes. Playing a deck like this. There are only 8 of that creature. So, for round 3, thanks for watching. Hopefully you'll let this video just auto-play into round 4.